Hey everyone, my name is Sasu. I'm a chef from Helsinki in Finland. Now, first of all, I will be your guide today to maybe Finnish happiness, or my happiness, or yours. I think happiness in general. We are right now in Lauttasaari in Helsinki, and as you can hear, it's pretty nature driven right here. Well, you're going to see a lot more, but I'm a chef. I have a little tiny 18-seat restaurant here in Helsinki, a restaurant called Ora restaurant. I have a longer history in cooking, of course, but having been the son of a stewardess, my mom has been able to pick me up and travel anywhere around the world pretty much. So I've been sort of focusing a lot on my own ingredients from this country, inspired of course by chefs more wise than I. So not that I would have to use ingredients if they're flown out from somewhere and we're right here in the middle of wild herbs and greatness in Helsinki. Why not just go with that, you know? Now, we're kind of semi-surrounded with water. We're in the woods, kind of. But it's also a residential area, so it gives you a little bit of a hint about what the purity of our nature is like. My first wild herb to show you is called garlic mustard. It's also found in other places in the world. May I please?
There you go.
Thank you.
There's a jar.
I need something to pick them into, right? Down here, with the beautiful flowers, which are also highly edible, this guy is called garlic mustard. The leaves are quite soft now, which is a great thing. They can be used as is. They don't have to be cooked at all. But when warmed up, they have a very arugula-like flavor. Very sort of peppery, a little bit maybe oniony and garlicky. So hence garlic mustard, right? So I'll pick some of the leaves and some of the flowers for decoration. But I really do want the fish dish to get a little bit of the pepperiness from these guys as well. So just a couple from here. Oh yeah, there's something over there that I want to show you. There's a lot I want to show you, right? But the nearest guy for here is the stinging nettle. The nettles are the ones, of course, that will burn you. So you have to have gloves to pick. But instead of using spinach, we have a lot of this from where that came from, right? But over there, there's something that I foraged from nearer to my house. Because I have permission. See, all of wild herbs like this, or like chickweed, that's actually here. And usually in Finland you would find chickweed. It's kind of a grassy, almost like a green peas kind of a taste. All of this little guy over here. And going on to something very, very important for us as a childhood memory. Here we have loads and loads and loads of wood sorrel. So many different kinds of sorrel in the world. Of course, they're all the same in one thing. They're acidic, so they have acidity, which I picked a couple already, right? But this guy, this is where we're at. So our spruce trees are right now shooting. Shooting meaning new growth of the tree, right? The new growth is beautifully kind of balanced and acidic and very fresh, and can be used in various ways. We're drying them and we're pickling them sometimes, usually freezing them for later use. Like imagine like a salmon tartare in the winter time when the salmon are really, really fatty, and then you have a lot of these guys, the spruce shoots in there. It's just so fresh. Tastes like the forest, everyone says. But the thing is, I don't have permission from the city of Helsinki to pick this guy here. But where I live in Espoo, I have permission, so I picked them from there. So I would go backwards a little bit because there's a couple of, how should I say, for my taste, quite important things that grow in the region, and not in such vast amounts. So, and not every year is so beautiful in the amounts of, let's say, wild raspberries. This is something that we can find over here. So we're going to be heading towards the water, actually, where my cooking spot is. Come with me. So the changes are so big from summer to winter, and our autumn is so full of mushrooms and so full of wild berries that you can go pick in the forest and all that. But the seasons are so short, and if we compare the seasonality, let's say 4 months of the year, you would have all kinds of ingredients growing in Mother Nature and on farms, which leaves 8 months of absolutely nothing. Nothing.
So you would say now is the time to collect these all amazing herbs?
Well, yeah, if you think of garlic mustard, for example, the garlic mustard with the beautiful flowers, the next step after flowering, these guys just underneath the flower, they will grow through the flower and go much, much higher. And then after, the leaves will be very, very sort of irony and super, super peppery. So not that usable for food, I'd say. Of course, for nutrition, why not? But garlic mustard will go to a phase where it's called see you next year.
Okay.
And so let's say 2 weeks of season for this, 2 weeks of season for that means you'll see them next year at the same time, right? Now, something not to pick, because there's also things that you shouldn't do. This guy, it might look like wild garlic, but it's our national flower and you wouldn't want to go there, right? Not edible. Next. So, something I want to show you from trees that you don't necessarily have to have permission for. This guy is called pihlaja, or the Rowan berry tree. There's one here much, much bigger, and one just behind here that's much smaller. Just before the rowan berry actually comes into leaves, that little bud is very, very, very bitter almond-like. You can make really, really green milk, for example. Just blend them into milk and freeze the milk and use it, let's say, all winter long for a really, really bitter almond-like flavor. It's amazing. It's almost like green amaretto, if you will. Now, the guy I was talking about, wood sorrel. Down here, these ones contain a very, very important and vivid childhood memory for us. These green leaves. Now, there are other kinds of sorrel in Finland as well, but this one, especially when we were kids, probably in the city outskirts, playing Robin Hood or whatever in the forest, you would be nibbling on these guys for a super green, clean, acidic taste. And then there's another root. It's not found here in Lauttasaari, actually, but another root that's very close to the rocks that we used to dig. And then we were, it's almost like licorice or anise and very sweet. It's called the common polypody. So kallioimarre in Finnish. Now, so these guys, very important for acidity and all kinds of childhood memories from the region.
So would you say every Finn has collected these from an early age?
I do believe that every Finn has collected these from early age. If not, something is missing from your childhood, right? Okay, cool. What I want to show you about the wild berries, the raspberries, for example, is right here. This is the first year raspberry. These little flowers over here, the little leaves, you see the flowers? They will become raspberries later on, but there will only be a few this year. When it goes on to the next year, the next ones are right behind here. They are huge. They are tall and beautiful. These guys are second year raspberries. And these will come in vivid, big, big amounts, right? So you can see a lot more flowers as well, which will become berries eventually. One of the funny and also medicinal plants that we've had here in the region is this one. It's called meadow sweet. As you can see, there's a little bit of it available as well. It is also free food. Quite highly important to talk about from our region is, of course, the purity of nature and the fact that we're not, we're quite good with the environment as well in Finland, is that we have something called the everyman's right, which means that we can pick these guys for food anywhere. Now remember, everyman's right does not contain trees in the system, in the rights itself. You have to have the permission of the landowner. So this is why I said from earlier that the spruce shoots that I have that we're going to use today, I picked them from very, very near to my house because I have the permission from my city. Now, let's go. Boop, boop, boop. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a little bit of meadowsweet for our dish. It's not like it's so important for flavor, but this guy has, it's really, really green, almost bitter almond-like and melon-like flavor that the young leaves of this guy has. So the bigger they get, they will also get a little bit metallic, maybe a little bit bitter. So if you're going to use this one, use it wisely, right? But just a couple, because I do believe that when we fry fish in butter, that it can carry a couple of flavors as well. So here we go. We've been talking about the fact of going to the store to buy some freshwater fish. I've chosen my pans wisely to what I'm accustomed to. These are Finnish cast iron pans. You can have a Teflon pan or a stainless steel pan. Everything is fine to go with. But if you have been able to harness and buy some freshwater fish, white meated in preparation, I can show you a trick or two what to do. But there's also another thing I have a trick for. And this is our spring cabbage. This guy, very salad-like, crunchy and crispy and beautiful. We have a little bit more than 2 weeks with this guy per year, which is amazing, of course. So I've had a cast iron pan on number 2 from 9 possible on an induction all of our time now. So about 10 minutes or so, just to heat up so you can see it is heating up, right? But it's still crispy on one side, and it's been just very, very slowly releasing its sugars onto the pan, so that actually if I squeeze it a little bit, it's so funny because it's bubbling away because of all that moisture that's very, very slowly coming together on the pan. And because it is cast iron, I just cranked it to number 5 right now, or number 6 even. So we can beautifully caramelize it with its own sugars. They're so sweet right now. And give it 6 weeks, it's not sweet anymore. So we have all winter time to do whatever we want. Sauerkraut or pickle or fry or grill even. So now, horseradish. Horseradish. This would be the main ingredient with mustard seeds for most of the wasabi found in the world. And it's colored green. So horseradish, right? So a bit of a punch. So what I thought is that we'll caramelize the cabbage. It's beautiful for me to be able to show you how cabbage reacts to when you treat it right, if you know what I mean. See, it's really not on high heat going. And see the caramelization? Caramelization, it's coming together really, really quickly. And there's nothing on the pan. There's no butter, there's no oil, right? So all of the caramelization that's going to happen is from the sugars from the cabbage itself. Just ever so gently warmed up. Number 5 again, 5 from 9 on the pan. Now, these guys I picked earlier from home, actually this morning, very close to my parking space. These are spruce shoots, crunchy, beautiful, acidic. Spruce, yes. And these are Scots Pine shoots. I took one with the needle so you can see how it grows. Scots Pine, or mänty in Finnish. Now the fun thing is they are both fir trees, right? They're basically from the same family, although this guy would be our Christmas tree, and this guy would be the guy just next to it. Funny enough, I know you don't know this, so I have to tell you. Funny enough, in the really, really bad days, the old days where people couldn't afford to buy grains, there were wars and all kinds of things, this is the tree where from your own yard or in the forest you could cut down a tree in the old days, and you take away the cover, the first bark, and there's a very thin layer of the bark that people used to dry and make flour and make bread from, like pine bark, basically, bark bread it's called. It's also been made in Sweden and many, many parts of Finland. So People have a very vivid memory from pine bark bread because it's like the driest bread ever, but it kept people alive. So it's very important culturally for us. Okay. What do you say about that? That's quite cool, right? The smell is almost like burnt sugar, which is amazing. So we're going to make a very summer-like dish where all of that sugar now caramelized carries a kind of a burnt caramel flavor anyway. The cabbage, I want it to be very fresh. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn that pan off and just slide it over here. By the way, these pans with the handle made from birch, which is our national tree, and the knife made from birch is a fun little collaboration I did with one of the Finnish companies called Fiskars. That team has been awarded the first time in Finland ever with a huge design award, like the best team award now. So we're very proud of them, of course, and it was just last week, so we're like boom boom. Now our fish for today, the fishmonger for me, he chose pike perch. Now pike perch would be maybe, in many parts of the world, pike perch would be closest to sea bass, although this can be from the sea or from the lakes here in Finland. The salt content of lakes and seawater is really not that far apart here. We're only 0.5% salt level in our sea, so our sea is very fresh water as well. Now I'll just quickly show you what we're dealing with. Pike perch, so very white meated fish. I'm going to trim a little bit on the side of the belly side, and as you can see, the fishmonger has been so helpful that he's already cut out the bones, so we could basically go directly on a hot pan, which also comes to a point where maybe one of my most important things why I'm here is to teach you guys how to fry fish my way. Now the fun part is we're going on one side almost only. And I know it's not very typical, but it's also something you'll remember forever probably. So, trimming a little bit of the excess here, just to keep it really neat and beautiful, the fish. Transfer them over here. And I'm going to go in two, right? And that pan is still, it's keeping hot with the cabbage, right? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to crank this guy to number 9 out of 9, right? We have some salt here. We have some butter here. Well, some butter, right? And the horseradish. So while we are just gently, ever so gently waiting for the fish frying pan to warm up. Oh yeah, I can use this guy to just grab. I hope you can see this, how much the cabbage has actually softened. It's really juicy and beautiful. So I'm just going to slice one little beautiful slice of the cabbage. And I'm salting it on both sides. And then it's really beautiful, right? Very salad-like on this side and really caramelized on that side, right? So I'm going to take the horseradish. I peeled it a little bit earlier so you don't have to deal with all that happening. I'm just going to scrape some beautiful peppery horseradish on top of the cabbage. And yeah, super close. The good thing about these guys, the cast iron pans, is they warm up really fast. So now, going on the plate, just as is. We're not making star dishes right now. We're just concentrating on good stuff, right? Now, I'm gonna take the hot pan. It's still on number 9 out of 9. And put in quite a good chunk of butter. Yes, I know, quite a good chunk of butter. Now, the thing is, you don't have to fry fish in humongous amounts of butter, but there's a couple of things that really helps. First of all, what a healthy amount of butter does is it keeps, or might keep, the fish a little bit off the pan. But another thing is what you can see happening here is that it's browning. And this beautiful caramel from the butter attaches to the caramel of the cabbage we have, right?
What other fish do people cook in Finland? Other than
Oh my
this?
God, everyone loves salmon. Salmon, 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 yes? But there's a good and there's a bad thing about salmon, right? Most of our salmon in Finland is protected because it's been a little bit overfished in the waters. So now, oh, yeah, highly important. You see the difference how thin or thick the pieces of the fish are? It's really, really important to be following. So now I'm going down to number 4 on the pan. And also, what you see happening is that chefs everywhere are doing this, right? And you wonder why. Why? Spreading even heat on both sides of the fish, although it's frying from one side, right? Helps the flavoring so much. So, yeah, but talking about the salmon, right? Lots of our salmon are protected in the region because it's a really bad story to tell. It's been so overfished in the region that wild salmon doesn't really exist that much anymore in Finland. So we're trying to protect it by all means, right? Okay. Now, first of all, butter that browned and then just fish, no salt. Why? It's not very usual. I know I cook a little bit differently than the others. You may decide if you want to pre-salt the fish before the cooking process or the frying. It's fine. I don't mind. But the thing for me is that the pre-salting, the fish is very stiff. And now with the stiffness, I'm not sure if it's my favorite thing with the fish though, that the freshwater fish, how it flakes when it's cooked perfectly, is just incredibly amazing, right? And I want to keep that to every single extent if possible. Can you catch this little action over here with the camera? What's happening? You see that little twist? How the fish is twisting? We've gone enough from one side to be turned. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to lose the minimum amount of moisture from the fish. So just a little bit of salt now on top, then flip like so. Oh my goodness, beautiful. Look at that. Now, I don't know, can you get this close to see how the spores of the fish are completely open? Like all of those little muscle fibers, they're all open, which means it's super juicy right now. The other one is a little bit thicker. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through here. Yeah, to separate the two parts. So this one can be fried. There we go. Beautiful. So then, salt on the fried side. More heavily. There we are. Ooh. It's a good smell now. So the thick side is still on the pan, but we can go forward with this part, right? The most important thing about frying fish is that, should I say this out loud? Chefs always say you don't have to kill it twice. So kind of respect meets what the French would say cuisson, how it is cooked. So, because flavors we can add later on. We can put some of the meadow sweet leaves that bring out this beautiful bitter almond-like flavor, right? They're here. We can put some of the wood sorrel that contain the acidity, but still all of the flavoring will not change the fact how the fish is cooked. So when you cook the fish to perfection, at this moment, when you press it like this, it's soft. Can you see all of those juices? So because people usually at home, you would think that it's not cooked yet if it's very soft. And this is exactly why in restaurants it would be completely different. The fish is beautiful and soft and succulent. And so to say, in Finland we have this joke that people keep a whole salmon fillet in the oven 45 minutes longer than you should, just to be sure, just to make sure that it's cooked. You know, this guy is super close here now. The thick one takes so long to cook, but it's also really, really good for the fact of how to see how it happens, the cooking process. Because with very thin fish, it cooks very fast and then you're not sure what to do. With the thick ones, you need to be very, 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 very sort of patient and flip it only once so it doesn't fall apart, right? Now, so the wood sorrel, the meadow sweet from right here, then the greens from the spruce shoots. These guys we didn't go through yet, so it's really, really important to show you well what's going on. What I did with the Scots Pine shoots is that I didn't serve them whole. I took all of those little niblets on there, because if you live in a region with all kinds of wild herbs and in vast amounts, oh man, I think it would be a crime not to use it for food, you know. So,
how would you describe Finnish food culture?
Well, we've always been kind of we know our nature, we know and we understand how to respect it, but we've been a little bit timid maybe. We haven't been so sort of proud of it, you know? We kind of take things for granted. We're like, well, we have these wild herbs and we have these childhood memories. I picked them once when I was 15, you know? But come mushroom time and come berry time, everyone's in the forest going, I need to pick mushrooms, like, and they're posting on Facebook saying, oh my God, so many mushrooms today and all that. But the wild herb thing is something we have the most of, but it's not in such big use yet. So, but see, Finns usually act on the basis of people from other countries telling them, look at what you have, right? So maybe we should just do more of that. Tell Finns, look at what you have. Now, would you like to try?
Yes.
If I'll just grab a little bit of fish.
Perfect.
And some cabbage from here, and then tell me how I did.
Are you just handing me the... Yes, perfect.
Of course.
Okay, let's see here.
There you go. And please do grab a lot of the wild herbs.
Wow.
They're so important for the flavor.
This is really good.
This guy
Can I
is
take more?
just ready. Please do, yeah.
I'll just grab the plate.
Yes, do. Go. Here is how the spores of the fish open when you fry it really well and it's juicy on the inside. Now, when the fish looks like this on a pan and it's beautifully caramelized, oh my goodness, do not keep it for long. So just a couple of seconds on this side, on the plate, and remember, it continues cooking even though it would go on the plate.
This is amazing. Thank you so much.
So evidently, I don't think I have to tell you that part of my happiness becomes from, or my happiness is kind of constructed from certain things, from motivation and inspiration, of course. But the importance of having nature so close to where I am, where I cook, like 9 minutes that way, right? It's a huge part of inspiration, motivation, and of course, my happiness. To be here in the middle. Imagine if I wouldn't be working right now, I would be picking these guys right here next to the table in this area to preserve for the winter. And how proud you can be then in the winter time when there's nothing growing. It's like snow until here and minus 20 degrees. And everyone's stiff when they come to the restaurant and you've been picking all summer long. And you can have all of these local beautiful wild herbs that you've been foraging yourself to have the restaurant open during the winter time. You know? Thank you so much for following from wherever you guys are. I can't see, maybe it's a good thing I can't see. But I'm super honored that you've been following. Thanks so much.